As Ernest Hemingway once quipped, tales of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Similarly, despite the ravings of manifesting coaches, tales of our omniscience, tales of our omnipotence are greatly exaggerated. Sometimes, despite the best motivations, the best research, the best effort, the best advice, our plans just turn to hell. It just turns to shit. The failure of our plans is not our failure as an individual. It is not an indictment. Despite what the gaslighters might say, despite what the narcissists might say, despite what abusive fools might say, the failure of our plans is not an indictment. But it still brings up a really important question. What do we do with the circumstances and the physical sensations and the emotional sensations and the interpersonal consequences and all those thoughts and emotions? What do we do with them? Do we repress them? No. Do we indulge them? Hell no. We process them. Now, what's the easiest and most efficient way to process those messy emotions? I recommend a two-step process of mindfulness and meditation. Let's begin with mindfulness. There's a lot going on in this page, isn't there? The key to every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we automatically and effortlessly access the sympathetic nervous system housed within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. It has not evolved to cause us to actively concentrate, but it has evolved to help us to simply perceive, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. In an attempt to essentialize the teachings of Tukutandap, as we inhale, we could recite the 12-syllable exercise, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. This is not an affirmation. This is actually what's going on. We are wired to perceive. Whether or not we want to is beside the point. Perception is a survival imperative. And no matter how sick or tired we are, our survival wiring, our survival circuitry is always just chugging away like a V8 in the Mad Max universe. So that was a rather sloppy simile. Would you not agree? So once again, if we're alive, we're experiencing the play of mind. Now, what do we mean by the play of mind? Consider, if you wish, this classic Dzogchen icon of a couple sitting in the tantric position popularly known as Yab Yum. So the woman is the color of a cumulus cloud, and she is sporting in wild abandon. And that's a wonderful simile to the way our mind is just watching. Our mind is watching and hearing and feeling and tasting and smelling and the like. Our mind is emoting and intending and reasoning and recalling and imagining and confabulating. Our mind is just shucking and jiving and breakdancing like one of my classmates in the early 80s, mid 80s. So this is not an affirmation. This is not wishful thinking. This is exactly what's going on in the present moment. Why recite it? Because instead of fighting the present moment, we are flowing with the present moment. But you know, you can't inhale forever. After a while, you have a choice. Exhale or turn blue, tip over, wiggle funny, and scare the dog. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we automatically and effortlessly access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is ensconced in both the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of our cervical region of our spinal cord. It causes us to both physically relax as well as mentally release. And so as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the distillation of the teachings of both Chagdud Tulku as well as Bako Tulku, and silently and mentally recite relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. So we're already hardwired to relax during every exhalation. It may be very gross, maybe very subtle, but we are hardwired to do that. So once again, we are not dealing with phantasmagoria. This is stuff that's going on in the present moment. We are just aligning our intention and our awareness with the truth of the present moment, occurring during our exhalation. But what do we mean by mind's non-graspable nature? That sounds kind of spooky. Are we supposed to superstitiously believe the mind is literally non-graspable? No. Are we supposed to pseudo-intellectually strive to prove that mind is somehow literally non-graspable? No. But every kid who's graduated 4th grade understands that not all sentences are literal, that many are figurative. And here's how it works. As we physically relax during our exhalation, whatever we noticed during the previous inhalation can now feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. It could feel as if it was as non-graspable as the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although it could be tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. Whenever we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during the previous inhalation could feel as if it was as non-graspable as if it was utterly imaginary. It could feel as if it was as non-graspable as if it had never been born. It could feel as if it was as non-graspable as if it simply was not ours. Or take it back, as if it simply was not us. Before we start this evening's formal meditation, I suspect it could be terribly helpful if, together as a team, we chanted this evening's excerpt of Natural Liberation Through Naked Vision, written or attributed to Padmasambhava, translated from the Tibetan into English by Dr. Robert Thurman, PhD, adapted by yours truly. Before we do that, allow me to remind you that if at any point you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. If you're using a laptop or a desktop, that window could be on the right. And if you're using your smartphone in a vertical configuration, it could be There we go. It could be right down here. Whoops, did it again. Okay, right here. Yes, it is it is exactly as it appears. Old man Gyatso is puzzled by smartphones. Okay, so let's dig in. Yahoo, joyfully wake up, fortunate children, listen here. Mind though this great word is so well known. People know it, not know it wrongly or only partially. And by not understanding its reality precisely. Whoops, look, this is what us big kids refer to as a typo. Let's take it from and. Oh, look at that. I got a red line. Okay. And by not understanding its reality precisely, they come up with inconceivable philosophical claims. The common alienated individual, not realizing this, by not understanding her own nature on her own, enters roaming through the 6 life forms of hateful hell beings, craving hungry ghosts, befuddled animals, frightened humans, competitive titans, and clinging gods. Oopsie. And clinging gods of the desire, form and formless realms. This is an unnecessary accent. Okay. Such is the consequence of not realizing this reality of mind. Buddha's disciples and hermit Buddhists claim realization of a partial selflessness, but do not know this exactly. Bound up. That's another typo. Bound up in claims from the treatise and theories, they do not behold their clear light of lucidity and letting go. Allow me to explain this. So clear here refers to mind's lucidity. So imagine, if you will, you're standing in the kitchen and you have a glass of water and you pour in some mud. Well, within a few minutes, it's going to get murky and opaque. But if you leave it by itself, alone, on the counter, within an hour or two, the water will stop moving, the particles will settle to the bottom, and once again, you'll be able to see through the water. And that's what we mean by lucidity or clarity. Light here refers to non-graspability. For instance, I'm in a room lit by light bulbs, so I can see. Light allows me to see the objects in my room, but I cannot grasp the light. It's literally non-graspable. So clear light is not a literal thing, but a metaphoric description of mindfulness and meditation. Let's continue. Disciples and hermit Buddhists are shut out by clinging to subject and object. Centrists are shut out by extremes about the two realities. Ritual and performance tantrikas by extremism in service and practice, and those of great Maha creation of love and letting go, and pervasive Anu completion of bliss and letting go. By clinging to the duality of realm and wisdom. So much in the tradition of the founder of Dzogchen Buddhism's first reformer, Garab Dorje, Mahayoga, of visualization and chanting and ritual and offering, and Anu yoga of channels and winds and drops don't compare to Ati yoga of simply mindfulness and meditation. And what is being inferred in this text is that Maha Yoga and Anu Yoga are unnecessary. It's better to spend your time with Ati Yoga, with just mindfulness meditation. Please do not squander decades like I did, just blindly following along robotically with the dictates of fundamentalist teachers. And yes, there are fundamentalist Buddhists. They're fundamentalists everything. According to Sturgeon's law, 90% of everything is crap, including meditation instruction. How are we to know what to trust? Don't trust. Experiment. When you encounter a teacher and they give you a technique, apply that technique at least once every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days, 7 days in a row. At the end of that time, notice your results. If you've grown less resourceful and more cranky, then this teacher probably isn't for you. If, however, you've grown more peaceful and more resilient and more loving, then you probably stumbled upon a good teacher that you could continue to learn from if you so desired. Let's continue. Thereby remaining dualistic and non-duality, by not communing non-dually, they do not awaken. Just a terrible thought. I want to make sure the audio is working. Testing. Good. Okay, let's continue. Although all life and liberation are inseparable from their own minds, they still roam the life cycle on the gradual vehicles of quitting and choosing that indulge our controlling tendencies. Once again, echoing the sentiment of Gaurav Dorje, also known as Prahevajra. Prahevajra, just like Yong Jiaxuanjue taught immediate enlightenment. He didn't teach that it was the best path, he taught it was the only path. So when someone says, okay, you've got to jump through all these hoops and maybe in 7 or 8 lifetimes you'll do it. No. Buddha said you could do it in a week. And you can put me to the test. It's found in the final portion of the Satipatthana Sutta. Therefore, observing all created things in your free and action of centered spontaneity, realize the great natural liberation of all things. All things are perceived as we breathe in, and all things are liberated as we breathe out. Naturally, we do not need to force it. All we need to do is align our intention with the factory-installed wiring of our autonomic nervous system to partake of this. From this teaching of natural liberation through nakedly perceiving your own wisdom, thus in Nati's great completion, everything is completed through awareness and release. The Samaya commitment to rely upon one's teacher, the Samaya commitment to rely upon teachers' example, instructions, and students unlocks the 3 Gyatsos. And that's the truth. What comes next is a final chant and tonight's actual meditation practice. Before we do that, I'd like to invest less than a minute in housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. I have spent more than half my life studying, practicing, and then reverse engineering every teaching and every technique of each sect of Buddhism, so that I could play the Yoda to your Luke Skywalker and help you to quickly and easily become the person that your dog already thinks you are. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. These are our final two premeditation chants. We will perform the recitations of empathetic bodhicitta and enthusiastic refuge. We'll begin with the triplet chant. We'll use the triplet chant to recite the more literal practice. Take two. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. And now, the Buddha's example, instructions, and students are so useful that they earned the metaphoric nickname the three wish-fulfilling jewels, as we can see in our more concise and figurative recitation, which uses the bookend chant together. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. Now, most doctors agree, most people really benefit from a sane degree of exercise. Personally, as an aging meditation teacher, my two favorite forms of exercise, well, I guess my three favorite forms of exercise would have to be brisk walking meditation, sometimes replaced with brisk spiritual counseling, or what I like to call schlepping and kibitzing. Number two, favorite form of exercise would have to be performing variations of geriatric step back squat thrusts before a Buddha statue while whispering this recitation to train my neural pathways responsible for empathy and enthusiasm. And of course, my third favorite form of exercise would have to be tantric sex. So we've already explored the mechanics of meditation. Now, together as a team, let's meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. For the first 16 rounds of breath or so, depending on how fast you breathe, let's play with this 12-syllable exercise that we already explored during the lesson. After I do my geriatric Buddha bowing, I like to sit in meditation and play with this exercise as well as the two others that follow. Now let us switch to the 3-syllable version of the same exercise. As we inhale, let's silently and mentally recite, notice this. As we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite, relaxing. One of the fringe benefits to this meditation is that the aggression centers in our brains stop lighting up and the empathy centers of our brain start lighting up. So the litmus test of our meditation is our crankiness or our compassion. It's been said that the highest compassion is spontaneous and uncontrived. You don't have to force it. Now let's switch gears and go to the 1-syllable exercise, my personal favorite. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. And as we relax into our exhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the 1-syllable verb ease, which functions as a synonym for relaxing. Welcome to this evening's group meditation. If at any point you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, simply type your question in the chat window and click the send icon. Briefly put, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. And the most effective way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. Your eyes are open. This may be a good time to open them. Let's seal this evening's meditation with a bit of the old chanting, beginning with kind ethics and then concluding with the 4 immeasurables. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May everyone be free from misery. May everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel on Patreon. In approximately 11 and a half hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.